Well, you're welcome back. Beautiful music there by Diana Hamilton, right? Munio.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. And look.
Munio.
They're all here, and we're joined today by our very special guest here, all the way from Thought Leadership, Nick Okuni, looking actually ready for the Monday. How you doing, bro?
I'm well, man.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And we've got quite a lot of papers, haven't we? Mama V, how you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah.
Do you have one of those weekends where you plan to rest and feel?
You're making me remember a lot of things right now.
Good things.
Babysitting is not easy.
Oh boy, whose baby?
My babies.
Say you were not babysitting.
I give birth.
How can you babysit your own thing?
Well, you guys had a good weekend too?
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah?
Nice and relaxed.
All right.
Okay, let's dig in. We've got quite a few papers today. So as always, we'll run through the headlines real quick and then we'll settle for some details. I will begin with the Daily Guide. Why not? And banner headline this morning, NDC gurus storm EC, charge on G Mensa. Oh. Okay, government fights US visa ban. Police hunt Yawaso shooters. Otumfuo hails free SHS. Akim Swidru suspected kidnapper grabbed, and that caters for the front page. And on the back, I am a floating coach. That's Coach Yao Prep. Kome crowned world champ at last, and Okante beats them all. That's a tennis story. Also, satellites game called off, and Kotoko slip in Sudan. Can I do one or two more before?
Yeah, you can do one more.
Okay, I'll do the Daily Statesman. It has this mysterious headline: DS demands probe of Ayawaso West violence. I just don't know what DS is. Anybody? Any clues? Any guesses?
DS what?
S.
BS.
DS.
Maybe when you turn to page 5, you find what they mean.
Page 5, yeah. Well, we'll figure it out later. Also, let's make agriculture commercial Kenya style. And banner headline: Mahama will lose 2020. NDC northern rival Alban Bagbin predicts. What is a northern rival? I wonder. Ekufuado deserves. Are they both from the northern region?
I suppose that's what it means.
But they are both from the northern region,
Yes.
right? Not from two different regions. Both from the northern region. Alban Bagbin and John Mahama. Northern region.
Nadoli Kalio, no. I think Nadoli Kalio being one of the upper.
Okay.
Which is why I'm confused.
But it's
But you know that
you know the
we
people
refer-
from that part of the country do not like to be referred to as
people,
the northern part of Ghana.
Right.
Nobody says the southern part of Ghana
Right.
when they're referring to
Right.
central or Volta or
Right.
western regional
Greater
citizens
Accra,
or Greater Accra. So yeah. All right. Enough of that. Ekufuado deserves a peace prize for Dagbon, says Bugri Nabu. Okay, and that's it for the Statesman.
So I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper on the front page. Ghana responds to US claim visa sanctions unjustified. The story is on page 16. And then Kome wins IBF world title, stops Shaniev in round 2. The story is on page 32. And then you have President leaves for 8-day working visit to South Africa, US and Ethiopia. And then Catholic Bishops Peace Council condemn violence at Ayawaso West Wogon. I suppose that's in relation to the by-election that was conducted recently. And then on the back page, you have Kotoko fall to Al Hilal. Kome wins IBF title, stops Shania. That story was also on the front page. Heart thrash Hazakes. And Ghana, Burkina Faso match rescheduled for today.
All right, so let's look at the Daily Dispatch newspaper. It has on the front page analysis of Ayawaso West Wogon by-election. We also have the Kufuado's 2011 All Die Bidai and John Mahama's 2019 version all on page 2 of the paper. You can also log on to the Daily Dispatch, gh.com to get all the updates. Housing conditions in New Jobbing, Brekum, Medina, and La, all inside the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The story all there. But let's look at, before we go to the next with Mamavi, let's look at the Herald. The Herald has a story. Armed Black Mask Militia Commanders revealed. Armed Black Mask Militia Commanders revealed. So you have pictures of one Colonel Michael K. Opoku, Head of Operations National Security, DSP Azugu, good morning to you. Head Police SWAT Team at National Security, and Brian Champo, National Security Minister. And then you have a picture of some individuals, apparently it looks like a training ground, wielding arms. And it says MPP Pathy Tax are training in the Ghana Armed Forces facility. Then we have Sam George tackles Lion Budukumson. Stories beneath, we have sacked Hobson Nadoye, endorses assault on NDC men, and Ekufuado gets US visa ban despite military base gift to Americans. Is it a ban?
What
They are saying verify your own citizens or put in place the sanction. The sanctions now are in place. I love it that it's for the public officials, the MPs and all that.
Well, they said soon is going to extend to every Ghanaian.
If the matter is
if
not
it continues,
resolved, the next
going to affect
stage
you and
will
I.
be that.
Oh, okay. So right now it's for which category?
So members of the executive and the legislature.
Yes, and their
Right
family
now.
members.
Right now, yeah.
Their relations, yeah.
And the
Let's do
restriction, by the way, the restriction is simply that if you apply for any visa, they will give, and you are approved, they will just give you 1 month.
Yeah.
So it's not that they won't allow them to travel, but all they can get is 1 month.
But we know the US for number 5
Let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Daily Graphic. Presidents on 3-nation visit. 3 shareholders of defunct Unibank urge court to join AG to suit. Ministry disappointed by US visa restrictions. That's what we've just been talking about. Lapses in lecturers' qualifications exposed. National Council for Tertiary Education audit report comes with a picture of the Executive Secretary of the National Council for Tertiary Education, Professor Mohammed Salifu. Bayport Star Assurance launch motor insurance policy is also another headline. Let's turn to the back page. Comic claims IBF title with second round TKO win. Okay.
That was a wonderful fight. Did you watch it?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, I
but
watched it.
I read the tweets, the congratulatory tweets from the president, not necessarily interested in exact what he had to say, but the comments beneath there was a comment that was captured.
I watched that.
That was what I was interested
What was
in.
the comment, Mamabi?
He's afraid.
No comments. Kotoko lose 1-0 to Al Hilal. Is that the end of Kotoko? I'm not sure. Is there a second chance? Maybe Benedict will be here to fill us in. Center spread is a special feature. Farmers abandoning famine for charcoal burning, but Assembly warns of prosecution of offenders. That's the story in the center spread of the paper. It's a special feature, and that's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. Kojo Yansing.
Yes, madam. Right. Any other papers we haven't?
I've got the. Okay, let me continue with the Finder newspaper.
Please
Front
continue
page
with the Finder.
of the Finder. China's $20 million for 1,029 boreholes. 500,000 residents of remote communities get relief. U.S. Ghana in tussle over 7,000 Ghanaians marked for deportation. GRA retrieves 400 million Ghana cedis from inappropriate transfers. Hussein Swale's funeral set for February 7 and 8. Coalition demands further amendment to RTI bill. That's your headline right there, the Finder newspaper.
All right, and now I want to start, before everybody comes in, with the issue of the restrictions of the ban that has been placed on
Ghana's reaction.
Yeah, and then our reaction from our foreign ministry. And we all know that this has been a public issue, if not over the last year or two. And I think that I have to bemoan the lack of inaction on the part of our government in trying to resolve the difficulty.
I beg to differ, but you finish.
Now, we're told that we have in excess of about 7,000 people who either say they are Ghanaians or wield Ghanaian passports. And the US government says that you have to verify them so that we deport them to your country. But we also know that, on the other hand, the Trump administration seemed to have a certain hard stance or hardline stance on immigration. And I don't think that within our own geopolitical policy towards the United States, we should overlook what the position of the Trump administration is vis-a-vis the current position of the American administration to some of these things in our bid to strengthen or perhaps realign our relationship with them. And I think maybe the public has not been adequately informed by the steps that have so far been taken until the issuance of the statement by the American government. If the Ghanaian government had been in a position to adequately inform the Ghanaian public about the steps that had been taken so far, then that statement that was issued by the Foreign Ministry could be put in a better perspective. But it looks like the Ghanaian government is saying that they hadn't been given a proper confirmation by the American government. And as a result of that, they are surprised at the action that have been taken. But nobody is actually surprised by the action by the American.
Are these people actually not like paperless? If I say paperless, they've not got documentations. So you've got to verify if they are your citizens, and you have to issue them with some documentation before they can be brought to Ghana. Yes. And what I hear the ministry say, and I think I listened to the ambassador on Asempa FM sometime last month. I think so. You know, trying to explain these matters. We're not, obviously not gotten here at this point. But they said they were verifying the claims by the Americans that these were our citizens. Because there's nothing really to show. You've got to do your investigations and check the backgrounds before you can be sure that these are Ghanaians. You don't just accept them because the U.S. says that these are Ghanaians.
No, the U.S. is not saying that you accept them.
Besides,
the U.S. is saying that you, as a consulate or as an embassy, as a government, verify them to ascertain whether they are your citizens.
So
and then go back and tell the American government, well, I have done all this. Only 2,000 of them are really my citizens.
But do you hear them in their statement? They are still verifying. It's a process.
I see.
Nick?
A process that's taken 2 years.
So this story is actually in the center spread of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, the statement that they've issued. Now, a bit of a background information that we need to advert our minds to is that this has been going on for more than 2 decades, right? Usually when an ambassador is appointed, they usually are given a package where they are allowed to take along domestic staff, cooks, etc., etc. Now, when your tenure expires as an ambassador, you're supposed to return with them. But usually the ambassadors return and they don't. So when you violate immigration laws in the UK and they inform the Ghana mission in the US to process you, the mission in the US is supposed to issue a certificate so that you are processed and deported. And sometimes also you have situations where their passports have expired because they've overstayed. You know, ordinarily when you visit a foreign country, you're supposed to report to the mission for the mission to do some documentation, but people don't because they have their own motives. And then you have situations where people have actually had lawyers to fight their cases in court. And when a case is in court, you just don't, you know, violate court orders and bring the person, you know. So that's actually what is happening. So you get a sense that these sanctions are actually on members of government, the legislature, and then the executive. Because sometimes you also have situations where MPs guarantee visas for their relations. And that's why you can reckon that they are targeting members of government, the members of the executive and members of the list. So I agree with you that the government has not taken enough steps to remedy the situation.
I still disagree with the two of you.
You know, it's interesting, the issue of whether the government has done what they should or not. My question is, why is this being left to opinion? We ought to be able to prove it one way or the other. You know, so if it's true that government has actually complied, because you know when you read the statement, they say that they've actually processed some of them. I think there are 27 in total that they have been alerted about.
28.
28, thank you. And they've processed what, 19 or 17, something like that.
So and also just before you continue,
say they processed
11 traveling certificates.
And then in the past, we had also raised concerns about how those who were deported had been treated. Some human rights issues there as well.
Yes, it's in the statement.
So if I can read from the Ghanaian Times, they say our Washington mission has received 28 applications from the U.S. authorities, out of which 19 had been interviewed by the embassy, and 11, like you said, traveling certificates issued for their travel to Ghana. Those outstanding are as a result of doubts of their nationality, ill health, and pending litigation in the U.S. courts. So out of the 28, they've actually worked on 19. They've met 19, interviewed them. So what they're suggesting is that it's an ongoing process. And then out of those 19 that they've met, 11 of them they've processed and found, okay, you can go. So we've given you documents as the treaty prescribes. Then they say there are another, well, by this calculation, maybe 8, that they can't quite tell whether these people are Ghanaians or not. They need to clarify. There are others among these 8 who have court cases. So again, you can't deport someone who is in court, like Nick is saying. And then there will be another, 9 on top, from 19 to 20. So another 9 who they are yet to interview. Okay, so what Ghana government is suggesting is that we are doing something. But my point is, why must we rely on their word? If you're doing something, there must be a paper trail. There must be letters, correspondence. The American government would have written to you that, oh, here are 28 people. Or whatever. So, and then you would have responded, okay, thank you. And you would have evidence that we have interviewed 11 of them, and this is what we've done, and here are the copies of their travel certificates. This information must exist. And they ought to be able to share it with us in a way that doesn't reveal their identities, of course. You know, they should be able to redact.
Are you talking about communication between Ghana and the US?
A Ghanaian government can assure us, the Ghanaian people, that they've done a job here. They ought to be able to assure us. It shouldn't be left to opinions. That's my point.
Right.
We shouldn't be trying to debate it.
Okay,
they should be able to prove it.
So in complement to that, we all know that beyond all the issues about what the American government is raising, and the Ghanaian government is also replying saying, we do know that we have our compatriots who go to these countries without the requisite papers or overstay, and so are there without any papers. They've been there, and they are Ghanaians. We also know there are people who are having our passports who are not Ghanaians. It also speaks volumes about our ability as a country to be able to manage the institutions of state that are expected to give passports to legitimate Ghanaians.
Yeah. Every country has that.
Now, it also shows how porous we are in trying to do verification over time of those that we've issued our own country document or national documents to.
Yeah.
So let's say you've given a passport to Mavio Sabajimi, Nick, or Kojo, and that person is somewhere there. We don't track the person. We don't know the state of health of the person. We don't know the state of stay of that person in that country.
I'm surprised you're looking
Roland,
at monitoring people outside the country when those of us within our country, we are not monitored.
No, the point is that if you look at what the US government is doing around, and even the UK government, they are even deporting people who have had papers, have had families over decades into countries originally
but
where
without the right documentation.
No, they do have some sort of documentation. I thought maybe because you did something.
If it's the right one, they can't just bring you back home.
No, the thing is that the US government seems to have a certain position on immigration. The Trump government has it.
Yes.
And I think that it looks like our government seems to either be turning a blind eye to some of these policy positions,
or a sovereign nation. What can they do about Trump, the Trump administration?
So we have to do something about our citizens, because out of the 7,000, maybe having a number of thousands of our citizens who are they should quickly verify them and bring them to
But they say they are doing that.
But do you hear that?
Hold on.
When you see a Ghanaian, you listen to a Ghanaian, you speak to a Ghanaian, you do the background check. You quickly, one day you will know that this man is a Ghanaian.
I disagree with you. But you're making it sound like even those who are in the
they are dealing with people who have lived in the United States for a certain number of years. That thing that you expect to see and know that they are Ghanaian, they may have lost it. That accent you expect to hear, they may have lost it. So it's not as simple as you suggest.
We're making it also sound as though those people are themselves willing to, because they're going to fight it. You say I'm Ghanaian, I say I'm not Ghanaian.
But
prove it.
Let's also
I'm
not
not
forget
sure
the
it's
fact
going to be that
it's
easy.
also the abdication of the responsibility of Ghanaians who travel. Ordinarily, when you travel, you're supposed to report to the mission, let them know where you're going to stay, give them your details. If people refuse to do that, and then it comes to deportation and there's a delay in the process, you can't blame the mission.
Yeah, I agree. So whichever way, we're here.
Yes, we are. And what a tragedy. Yeah. Anyway, for me, all I'm saying is that this shouldn't be a matter of opinion. If the government says they've done something,
they should prove it.
to be able to prove it and put this matter to
Well,
rest.
now here we are with sanctions. So it means that apart from us, the ordinary people, our leaders that we've put into public office would have only 1 month restrictions.
That shouldn't be a big deal.
Oh,
They're
that's a
public
big deal.
officials. Or
Really?
Yeah,
How long does any public
Yeah.
official have to be in another country?
Thank you. So really, we just have to fix it. Whatever it is, we have to get the communication going.
By the way, isn't there a travel ban? So why are we concerned?
Is there still a
Why are we
travel
worried?
ban?
All countries in the world can ban us if they want. We shouldn't be bothered because there's a travel ban according to our president.
On officials.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a travel ban on official. Why are we concerned? Oh. We are worried about little
Why don't we
things.
spend the time
We
doing
have
something
banned
else?
ourselves. US. You're banning your So what you are saying, yeah, yourself crazy.
Okay, I get your point.
The president has
The
banned
chief of staff
the
issued a
executive.
statement. That was 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this still
so
in force?
listen, now that we've
Have
all
they
agreed
lifted it?
that we've banned
Have you heard
ourselves,
that they've lifted it?
let's spend the time
And
doing
it was
something else.
2018, I think.
Let's spend the time
But
doing
before we
something
come
else.
to you, Mama V, the president is leaving for
Has left. The president has left.
well, he's left
He's left for where?
an 8-day working visit to South Africa,
I
the
know he was in South
US,
Africa yesterday. I don't
and Ethiopia. So he's going to the US.
I see, but it's for 8 days, right?
for 8 days.
Oh,
Uh,
But
No.
the president doesn't need a visa. He
It,
needs clearance.
it
Of
means
course.
that he left over the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
the people with him too, they are okay.
They've gone.
They are okay.
Yeah.
8 days there, and you're back. And you're
Hey.
back. They'll be all right. So this is the executive traveling.
So
yeah,
in South
spite of
Africa,
the
he will
ban.
deliver
Oh, fine.
the keynote address at the 2019 edition of the Investing in African Mining in Durban, which is the world's largest mining investment conference dedicated to capitalization and development of mining in Africa and the
You look like
US.
you want to be part of the interact.
Why not?
When you can hear.
Okay, that's
So
it.
for
That's it.
details, check out the
Yeah.
Ghanaian Times.
Okay, time is flying really fast, but there's a story here about 3 shareholders of Defined Unibank, urging the court to join the AG in the suit. A bit of a background. So Unibank is one of the 8 banks collapsed, and then subsequently one of 5 to be consolidated and wholly owned by government. They're in court because they say the bank would not have collapsed, but for some misrepresentation, by KPMG and the receiver. So that's what they're fighting for now and making their case. So the three of the 17 defendants in the suit brought against directors of the defunct Unibank and others for the various roles they played in the collapse of the bank have filed an application praying the High Court to join the Attorney General to the suit as a defendant. Dr. Kwabena Dufour, Professor Newman Kwejukusi, and Ms. Boatema Kakra Dufour Nyako want the court to join the AG to the suit as the 18th defendant. So the motion for the joinder, which was filed on behalf of the defendants by their lawyer Yao Opong on January 31, 2019, will be heard on February 12, 2019.
Your
So you can
point
read
is lawyer
about
for.
for the 3.
I see.
Yeah.
Our own Yao.
Which one is our own Yao Opong?
I don't know. We have a Yaopong.
No, there's a Yao Opong who does
Don't mind
a lot of
Kojo Saka's.
public education in law. I guess that's what he means by that.
I don't know if I don't know if you remember. There was a story. No, why am I saying there's a story? We all know about the 5 banks that didn't meet the minimum capitalization and are going to benefit from GATT, the GATT initiative. And the understanding that the whole nation was given that the money for GATT is going to come from private pension funds. So it's not government money that is going into it. So these private pension funds will bring up the 2 billion that is needed to bail out these
We've
banks.
seen the resistance as well.
Yes, which makes me a bit confused by this story in the Daily Statesman newspaper, which says government to issue $403 million bond for 5 undercapitalized banks.
And the banks are.
And it says that it's the same 5 undercapitalized. There are only 5 banks.
So it means
we
that
know.
the pension thing is not working.
It
It's not going
says
to
the
work.
government is issuing the bond. It says the government will issue a $403 million worth of bonds this month to finance the 5 undercapitalized banks under the Ghana Amalgamated Trust, a report by Bloomberg has said. The
That's not
government,
bad.
through the
That's a good
Ministry of
thing.
Finance, created GATT as a special purpose vehicle to help 5 banks which were undercapitalized to meet the 400 million capital requirement after the banking sector reform. And they are quoting the managing director of GATT, Eric Otu, who was quoted to have said in an interview that the trust is expected to pay debts of investors as a one-off annualized rate of 21% when the bonds mature after 5 years. But who are these investors? If government is raising $400 million of it, then I'm a bit confused. I don't know about you guys, but since when did government become one of the investors in GAT?
Well, the thing is that it looks like from the announcement from the Bank of Ghana governor, they didn't seem to have gotten the buy-in of the supposed sectors that would have contributed to GAT.
You mean the private funds?
Yes, because we had resistance since day one.
But that's interesting because we heard the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana on the Super Morning Show talking about how they vetted these private funds and they are all suitable, investors and everything is fine, but she can't tell us who they are.
Yes, ultimately, but at the end of the day, the concerns that have been raised or the resistance that has been portrayed in the media by these pension fund operators seem to give the indication that they didn't get the buy-in of the entire sector.
So how did they announce it? How did they announce an initiative
many announcements
when they
have
didn't
been
have
made by
investors
government
yet?
institutions in the past that seem to have
They
gone
set up
haywire.
the trust. They set it up.
It's been set up.
Yes, even before the announcement
So we're
came.
going for bonds for it. That's the position. That's
Yeah,
the
but how
policy
do you
position.
set up something and say this is how we're going to pay for it when you haven't even got
So
the
Joe,
buy-in of the people
it means
who
that
pay?
the pension thing is not working, so we're going for bonds.
No, you
That's the
didn't.
policy
The
direction.
question is, why did you set it up if you didn't have their buy-in?
Well, government does a lot of things. Government is it's the mover and shaker. It's the off-taker.
Well, they clearly couldn't move, shake, or off-take.
Yeah, that one.
It's time now for
that
us
one
to
they
do
did.
that.
So now the policy position is bonds.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was fun. And of course, it's time for sports. Benedict and the team have all the headlines from around the world, and I have a feeling Mama B knows what's coming.
Yeah. I do know that for the first time in a very long while, we've moved from the sit position. Hooray! We've overtaken Arsenal.
Who are we?
Chelsea, we are coming. We're coming like a kite for you. Yeah, there's a lot in sports.
Indeed.
Definitely football.
Stay tuned. It's after these.
All right, back.